Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is a very, very special episode of the Lighthouse Sessions. Dr. Doug Brackmann is one of my all-time favorite human beings. He and I are separated at birth. Dr. Doug, welcome to the show. My audience shouldn't need an introduction to you, but welcome, and tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world right now.
What is coming to me over the last 3 months is just an unfolding of really the foundations of a movement. I will say it that way. It is growing beyond me. And so it's beautiful, because this is not about me. Believe me, and I say this to everybody, I'm in this with you, because it's, my pride is not the foundation of anything I want to feed. So I still work my ass off to get rid of ego. I don't need to build it in something else. But really, the Sheep and Wolves came out, cut down from 20,000 words down to 8,200. Painful. I am in the process of, I've got next week, I believe Tuesday evening, I'll be recording. So that's coming on audio. I've been practicing doing it on audio because I get very emotional. So geez, who's the crying mess reading the book? I do not. Yeah. And so it's, but it's surprisingly emotional.
I love it. And that's what I love about you. You bring your heart to everything. So let's talk about Sheep and Wolves. And first of all, let's back up. What is driven to you? Because I think a lot of people have their versions of it, but your version is what we're going to discuss today.
So yeah, and I was saying this before we jumped on the podcast. I wrote Driven So I'm Not Alone. And second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, I knew I was different. I knew there was something different. I didn't understand why the rest of the class, most of my peers, didn't see through the projected bullshit of scripts they've been living and handed to them by these moronic teachers. And I just didn't get it. Like, why don't you see this? And the aloneness led me into really almost killing myself with alcohol, drugs, blah, blah, blah. And anything that allowed me to escape from this aloneness. I mean, there's this deep awareness that I was alone in this world. Walked into alcoholic. So I got into a lock psych ward at 18, voluntarily threw me in, because hearing things and seeing things and almost dying was not I knew that wasn't an option. For some,
it was a bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah, that's, when the bells get rung, it's just the fucking hammer gets bigger and bigger and bigger, ringing that bell until you finally hear it. But 11 days after I was in this lock psych ward, I was taken to my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I vividly remember the moment when the guy with this fucked up headband. I mean, if you've never been to an AA meeting, it is the greatest freak show on earth. It is just fantastic. But I'm 18 years old, and I walked into this room, and I felt like home. It was just, holy shit, these people get it. They're talking about really their own struggle with themselves. Yeah. And I just went, oh, I'm an alcoholic. I'm not fucking crazy. And so that led me into really a lifetime. And I'm 58 years old. So recently I took 40 years without alcohol. And the last 40 years have been dedicated to really understanding what the hell, why 3%, 5% of us are different. And, that difference, that collection of attributes is really, driven. And driven means very simply that we are different, and not better, often worse. So I mean, we can create some chaos and figure out some schemes to make some fucking money, and And so we're, you know, that's the core of sheep and wolves, is we are the problem in the world, you know.
So in Sheep and Wolves, the driven, we are the wolves. Is that a fair statement?
That is a very fair statement. And I say it a bunch of different ways in there, is you got to own your wolf. I mean, you got to own, I can be a whoring piece of shit, greedy, scheming, staff, you know, thief, and that monkey mind of mine that, you know, doesn't have the single narrative of the executive function. I have some monkeys in my head that can rationalize anything.
I
Really
love
anybody else. And so it's just, if I believe those monkeys, I'm dead. And
Yeah,
so
it's fascinating to see the monkeys. I'm seeing them revealed. Their masks, they're liars, and you know they're the ones that tell us we're not enough or we're not something. Now, one thing that you and I have discussed before, and I want to come back to this, but at the bottom of society, we've got driven, and equally likely at the bottom, we've got top and bottom covered by the drivens. We don't sit in the middle, do we?
no, we like to blow up and get in the middle. It's you know, and the simplest, you know, a farmer relies upon the weather and external attribution. Something out there is going to make me better, and a linear, you know, simple model for survival. And you know, in a chaotic pre-agricultural, or you know, the world we're in now, that is just too slow to survive. And so we get into that and we feel trapped, and we feel like it's just, and they don't see it, and we're just causing trouble, and we're throwing shit in class, and they just don't get us. And so, yeah, we are the disruptors. We are the ones who make the change, you know, whether it needs to be or not. You know, you drive me crazy with my, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, but it can be so much better. It's like, don't break it, man.
I like to say in my audience, the visionary entrepreneurs, they break perfectly good shit just to see if they can build it better. And it's not that we're chaotic. And I'm going to bring something up because I've noticed in the world there's this class of Gino Wickman is obviously a fan of yours. He talks about driven. There's a community of integrators, using his language, who've actually online, and again, they're not his people, but he accidentally created this rift. They vilify us because we're the chaos they have to manage. I find that absolutely amusing. It's like, oh, we must, you know, we don't mean to be mean. We're just bored.
Well, that, and you know, I work with visionary founders. I've been doing it for 30 years, and I've got some in my world now where trying to help them see the way they speak to 90% of the people and 99% of the people in the world is going to be perceived as condescending.
Yep.
Well, why are they so stupid then? It's just like, come on. You know, and you have to explain the links between every little tangent in your world. And it's very frustrating. And that frustration, though, is I say it in Driven, I say it in Sheep and Wolves, it is their world, man. And they are not going to fit into ours. And so we have to learn to, you know, and what almost killed me was trying to be more like them.
Yeah,
you know,
we all kind of cut those. You were literally cutting something. I remember you telling a story. You cut, was it your hair or?
Oh, so in 1981, I was just telling this story to somebody else. I wound up on a family vacation, and I was the truth teller in my family system. I was the one who was, you know, as long as we looked all good on the outside, we're good as a good, happy family, and, you know, the family portrait. And
Shut up, Doug.
Shut up, Doug. Yeah, why are you always trying to mess things up? Don't be so analytical. Wound up in Piccadilly in London at Trafalgar Square, and it was 1981. Sid Vicious had just died. Johnny Rotten had just started, you know, PIL and the cramps and Clash and all of this movement. It really was a movement, anti-authority movement. And I just said, oh, that is what will piss my father off. So within 81, I was, in 7th grade, 8th grade, I was a little kid. But by the time 9th grade came around, I had 3 piercings in my ear and a nipple ring and mohawk and full-blown running the streets. And I've seen at least 250 punk shows. I've seen some amazing bands. And it was just that energy of it, fuck authority, literally, it was that Black Flag, great song. But it was the first time I really got spoke to this anger and this rage. But that, the way of breaking things is not the way to get change. I mean, it just doesn't, and I did that with my founders. Well, let's just break it to make it better. And it's you cannot scale a hunting organization. And these, the drivens are, we're going to go find this woolly mammoth. We'll kill it, get the contract signed, and then figure out how to deliver the meat. And it's like, no, build the airplane on the way down. And it's like, no, you can only scale a farm.
Yeah.
And so allowing them to have the farm, but then here's 10 acres you can go fuck with and go just do your crazy. If it works, we might implement it, but we get to choose how to implement it. And in that, I've worked with, multiple people that once they really understand that systems and processes, farms, and you find a farmer to run it, stay out.
That's the part I missed, was find the farmer to run it, because I was like, Gino, how dare you tell me to have systems? And I went, wait a minute, Gino's doing this for me, not to me. But that was the problem, was I'd build these fences and then I'd be like, okay, Jeff, stay in the fence. And I'm like, I'm not going to stay in the fence, am I?
No, and the founders, we've got such, as I've always said, you could have called driven, the shame-based personality type. And it is, without this narrative left prefrontal, we tend to use our emotion, this felt sense that there's something missing or wrong with me. And then founders build a company that doesn't need them, and they freak out. Yeah. So they go start
breaking things.
Yeah, they go start fires because they are the ones who can only put them out. But teaching the founder that they are so critical in the capacity to see what's coming in the future and anticipate it, and really slowly but surely find, a true integrator. They're hard to find. Somebody who didn't have a completely whack childhood, has a left dominant hemisphere. They are definitely a big thinker, and they're driven. Yeah. And it's that combination that and I've worked with several founders that find them, and it's cheat code for building companies and just making a ton of money.
Well, the thing I'm finding fascinating, Doug, is you and I both have met multiple spectrums, but I'm meeting people who are pure ADHD founders, and they have a pure autistic partner. Holy crap, is that a dynamic duo? And it's like, man, I have that, but I can't regulate which one showed up to work today. So,
and it is, and I always laughingly and affectionately remind everyone I work with, we are on the spectrum. It's, just because you're hyperverbal doesn't mean you're, don't have some of the other attributes. And it's a gift. I mean, it is such a gift, but we are weird. And, and learning to know your audience before you let your weirdness out is a very valuable tool meditation's taught me.
I love that. And I think that's what I love about being around you and the other drivens. It's that relief that the masks are down. And what I realize, we're going to come back to sheep and wolves, because I realize a lot of times when I'm really excited and I'm talking about something big, I'm just grr, grr, rawr, that's all they hear is the wolf growling. And it's like, but I'm not angry wolf, I'm happy wolf, but they don't hear the difference.
Yeah, your frenetic energy is very destructive to the sheep's world. And that sense of urgency is sabotage. Always urgency is sabotage. And, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. E rolls right off the tongue. But, this, oh my God, we're going to not make so much money. We're going to, this is going to cost us so much if we don't implement this. And it's like, wait a second. No, just because you're missing an opportunity doesn't mean you missed, well, we could have. And so that emotional engine, blessing and a curse. But yeah, Sheep and Wolves. So Sheep and Wolves is a prequel to Driven. And I framed it as a way of introducing broad, big concepts and really to make a statement of how incredibly important we are right now in this world. We are, I can't express that enough. I mean, the meteorite that, or the ice age coming on, winter is coming. It is between the internet. I mean, the internet didn't, the internet is Gutenberg's printing press on steroids. It is a way of disseminating information instantly. 1440, when Gutenberg's printing press came out, it took, that was 1488 was Martin Luther somewhere in there. And his little movement against the Catholic Church and calling bullshit on their system, calling them wolves, would not have gone anywhere without printing thousands of these things out. But it took that 80 years or 40, 50 years, a couple of generations for enough people to be able to even read.
Yeah.
Now it is instantaneous, video. You don't even have to read in that language. And what you're seeing is corruption. What you're seeing is evil. What you're seeing is, and the internet is not doing anything to promote this evil. It's just revealing it. The world's always been this whack. This is not, government's corrupt. Oh, really? No shit. Yeah. And so, but the ones that are gaming the system, that's us. And, Fauci and, big food, big pharma, and the justification, rationalization monkey in their head saying, well, it's quarterly profits. We just have to, our shareholders are running the show. Bullshit. What you're doing with selling things that are going to kill people, hurt people, and glyphosate, I mean, Monsanto. I mean, it's just, the level of evil is incredible to witness. And now with AI on top of it, being able to, doge and look under the covers and see how the systems work. I mean, it is an opportunity to really see how a very small percent of the people are just collecting, most of the wealth in this world. And their intent is not good. they're
Now, in the book you mentioned, I think that they justify it. So to the evil out there, they don't believe they're evil. Is that true?
The key word of that sentence is belief. So, yes, they don't believe they're evil. And, that belief system goes back, and I don't really expand on it. I did in the first edition of Sheep and Wolves, was just meandering all over the place with explanations. But, the original sin, so Adam and Eve are in the garden. God tells, and it's a metaphor, guys. This whether it really happened or not is irrelevant. Jeez. And as long as you are appreciating life and eating from the tree of life and really just in that, all of our needs are met. But don't eat from the tree of knowledge of, for surely you will die. Eve goes and eats from it, blushes her boobs. Eve convinces Adam it's a good idea. He's scared of her, so he eats from it too. But it is the belief you know good from evil. And that belief that you know good from evil is the problem. But AI now, and Thomas Sowell, and you look at the philosophers that were talking about this before, there is no good and evil. It's all compromise. Because you look at the bigger, well, vaccines are good. Well, it from this angle, from this one research study, from this little narrow path, I can justify it, and I can continue my belief that I am doing good. But you zoom out and all of your beliefs start to fall apart, all of them. And so, that's the old, Christ didn't, Yeshua, Jesus, great philosopher, teacher that he was, didn't say, believe in me. He said, know me.
Yeah.
And that's a very different, well, that seems like a small nuance. And it's like, to Drivens, it's like, it's like, yeah. So, you drop your beliefs that you even know good from evil. And, Thomas Sowell, it's AI is giving us the opportunity to really see how these systems, what is best for most, and that what is best for most thing is what needs to be created here. And, you're in Canada, and Canada's drinking that, but you're drinking some kind of weird Kool-Aid up there. It's like, what? I mean, you have basically decimated a beautiful, capitalistic, unbelievable country. And now you have the highest housing rates in the world.
Yeah, we've got some really, and we also have a lot of homelessness, and like, it's just, people don't see the wheels coming off the bus, and it's like everybody's just, let's go faster. It's like, maybe we should stop and check what that rattle is.
Right. In the name of good.
Yeah.
And equality and diversity, inclusion, and it's like, what are you doing? And that simple "what are you doing" question, for Drivens, it's the most important question we can ask ourselves, without shame, without judgment. It's like, whoa, what am I doing? And you ask sheep that, they will rattle off 18,000 reasons, and the beliefs that are, and they will keep down this path. And look who's profiting, look who's making the money.
Yeah.
And this is driven by I'm getting more and more, any opportunity that I have, it's the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA, is driven by Soros, and they are wolves, and they are collecting, and they're exterminationists. They believe 500,000 people should be on this planet. And
Wow.
It's like, whoa. Well, Hitler was an INFJ driven wolf, and he was just trying to make the world a better place, and you got to do what you got to do, I guess. And it's like, good God, guys, come on.
You just made my stomach turn there a little, Doug. I feel like we're going to have to look back in history, because I'm starting to suspect that the INFJs are the problem ones. As you bring this up, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Hitler without Goebbels, without the integrator, he was the visionary, and Goebbels was his integrator. And that combination of actually coming up with a systemic way of narrating the story to the sheep, and they're doing it again, guys.
Yeah.
And this time it's different because the internet, and this time because we can all talk, and
we see you.
For all of Musk criticism, I'm usually not this political, but whatever. For all of Musk criticism, between Starlink, which is basically, radio free Europe, it is internet free world, and a platform, X now, that is basically, you can spew all the bullshit you want on there, and the truth will come out.
Yeah.
And that is just so, that has never happened to the human species.
Yeah, we can't hide things like, all of the intrigue during the, European times in the Renaissance. It was all whispers and quiet backroom deals, and all of that stuff is getting out. Now, in the book, you talk about wolves, and the key to wolves, we are the problem. Now, how do we become the solution? Because I think most of us want to be on that side.
Yeah, we believe we do. I laughingly say. So we are the problem in the world. And what is the problem in my life is me. I am the problem in my, the only problem I have is myself. And that transition, as I open this podcast up with, it takes a big hammer to get this thick, thick head of mine to realize, oh shit, what am I doing? And breaking, and the way I talk about it in Sheep and Wolves is really, we have profound observer awareness or soul awareness, whatever. I always joke, if anybody ever tells you they have it figured out, run, it's a cult bullshit. It's just like, but this capacity for us to actually step out of our narrative experience and look at ourselves from 18 different angles is the greatest gift. And being able to actually see that my soul has I have got so much potential if I could actually manifest the visions of what I see. But my flesh and this fear-based machine is what's going to hold me back and keep me from actually manifesting. And I use Peter as an example, Apostle Peter, of the 12. And it wasn't until he was broken, then he was put in charge. And, I go through a couple different examples of it. The greatest example is, he's at the Last Supper and Yeshua is sitting there, talking about Judas and somebody's going to betray me. What Peter do? Jump! I'll never betray you, and I have got your back. And Christ looked at him and goes, yeah, you little bitch, you're going to betray me 3 times. Give them back. And what happened the next day is he betrayed him. And as he betrayed him the 3rd time, Christ looked him dead in the eyes. And he just went, whoa. But that whoa realization is that this fear-based monkey suit meat machine that I'm trapped in is not going to allow me to manifest my true potential. And then it's like, oh shit, what do I do about that? And it's humility. And that humility is the opposite of pride, which is the original sin. Pride is what I believe I know good from evil. That's pride. Humility doesn't mean humiliation. It means the capacity to be honest with yourself. And being forced to be honest with yourself sucks. So it does. And being willing to really sit in just something that Drivens have, that is the greatest gift is this insatiable curiosity and insatiable, quest to get to the root of something. That allows me to take this humility, this capacity to be honest with myself and just look in at every corner of my shadow, anything that's going to hold me back in my body, and really manifest this calling, that my soul is bringing me to. The whole war. I get new clients and I get a couple in a month I take on. I've got a waiting list, blah, blah, blah. But somewhere in that first call is, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. You have no idea.
No, Dr. Doug needs a warning label because shit gets real and weird. Is that fair?
Yeah, very fair. And I always joke, it's only weird if you try to understand it. If you don't try to, understand the quantum, gravity is the bending of the space-time continuum. Let's say, oh, okay. You shrug your shoulders and move on. Don't. It'll just give you a
Let's
headache and
unpack
make you
that.
sick. Exactly. And so it is but the spiritual, and spirituality simply means spirit, means that which we can't see but has influence. And there's a lot that we can't see that is influencing what the hell is going on here. And the less you try to understand it, the more access you have to it.
Well, one of the things I've found is most of the drivens I've met, they're stuck in here. They're convinced that everything is me, and it's, when I met you, I was so disassociated. I was out. I wasn't even in my head anymore. And it's fun watching these grown men come into themselves and be around other people where they can be that way, right?
Yeah, and it's beautiful. And I do almost exclusively work with men. I'm getting more call for women, and I've been looking for, but driven women are I always joke, if I can get 1,000 driven women working together, nothing can stop them. But if I can get 3 to work together, I'm just like, because they're supercharged, powerful. But this opportunity we have right now, and this time is different. And as Yeshua said, that this body is the temple of God. And we, as the Buddha said too, is we take refuge from Mara, or Christ said, the deceiver that lives in our head. And we take refuge in the body. And getting your soul to land, or getting your knower to know, to rest gently and peacefully in a calm central nervous system, the driven brain then becomes this literal whiteboard of just massive opportunity and creativity. And watching that transformation, but cleaning out the vessel, cleaning the trauma out of this body is it's nothing short of casting out demons. It is some trippy shit. It's all biology, believe it or not. It is all biology. But,
and some demons go easier than others, right?
Some are real sticky, deceiving, and and they're just energy bodies that want to be around, stuck in this time frame. And it's not I'm not a hippie, believe it. I'm not a hippie. But this powerful way of actually being in the world, rather than relying upon what's going on between your ears. Life just gets so much more fun and interesting, and you're not alone anymore. You're in this world with others that are laughing with you about the crazy. And you can't. I give this homework honestly every week. Is you want to go see Normal Sunday afternoon, 2:00, go just park yourself in Walmart for 3 hours and just look. Go to Disney, and look at the line of people. That's normal, guys. And they're as Yeshua said to, Peter, a good place to close. He gave him a Japanese koan of "Do you agape me?" Agape is a godly love, and what agape often is misunderstood as is my willingness to die for the cause. I love something so much I'll die for it. That's one directional, but it's actually two directional, meaning that there's so much love between us. I'm also willing to let you die for me. And if you think about your kid, you think about somebody you love, and it's like, oh no, my flesh is not going to let you die for me. I will die 1,000 deaths before I let you die for me. But it's that discernment, because on our soul level, I can imagine it, but my flesh says, oh, no, 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 no. And Peter answered correctly the first time, he said, dude, I love you like a brother, but I don't know how to do this. It always cracks me up what Christ said back to him was, tend to my sheep. Because you're not one. Asked him again, he's crying, and just trying to answer it, and he's shaking in his body, and Christ said, tend to my lambs. And third time was the real trip, because Peter is really struggling in his body, and he's just, you know, overwhelmed with this love. And Christ said, yeah, tend to my sheep, take care of the sheep, and you are the rock and the ecclesiastes that I'll build the kingdom of heaven upon. And Rome, the Catholics determined that, well, that means church, and we are it. It does not mean church. It never meant church. It's Greek for processes and systems.
Ah.
And so it's you, me, the people you're talking to, the wolves that have accepted their brokenness, get into this trauma healing path. And, you know, part of the autism ADD driven spectrum is this unbelievable sense of justice. And we know it's I mean, we have this sense of justice, and used to drives people crazy. I'm better at it now. When I'm driving, you know, somebody swerves into me, you pull up and return the favor. Just trying to make the world a better place. Yeah, it's coming from that. But we are the ones who are going to build this kingdom, you know, that's best for most, to take care of the sheep, you know, and it is such an amazing opportunity. But principalities and powers of Soros and those people, you know, Bill Gates believes he's doing good and making the world a healthier place with his, you know, mystery meat burger while he's dying himself. It's like, dude, get him here. It's like, you know, but we, you know, the drivens that are awake and have each other and hold each other accountable. Iron sharpens iron, you know, and it's like simply being asked by somebody who really cares about you, what are you doing, dude? Well, I'm chasing this, and oh my God, shiny shit. And it's like, whoa, slow down. What about your kids?
Yeah.
You know, and so that, oh, you're right. And that capacity to actually build your own ecclesiastes in your own house first, and then expand it. I think we got an opportunity here.
Well, I'm going to wrap up with a couple of things. But first of all, this movement is a homing beacon. We're calling people home. We're not trying to change them. We're just saying, welcome home. But
exactly.
What I want to share is my experience of having been in your world and having you in my world is everything slowed down. You know, it's smooth is slow. Slow is smooth. I always get it wrong. But
yeah.
Things slow down and they become more intentional. I literally, early on, I could feel the addiction to the dopamine and the adrenaline. And now I've separated from that, and I can say, okay, I'm just okay right now. For the first time in my life, I can sit still for 30 minutes and not twitch. That's a huge, so, you know, I just want to say thank you for being in our world. And I can't wait to bring more Drivens home. So thank you for being with me today, Doug.
Well, let's do this again. I would love to become a regular guest.
I will have you anytime, my friend. And I think I'm going to invite some of our fellow Driven weirdos, because I just relish in weird. It's, you know, I had somebody, I'm going to share this with you before we stop, but somebody said, you say the word weird a lot. And I said, yeah, it's just to give you some context of what's about to come, because it's not weird to me. It's perfectly normal, but it's going to sound weird to you because you probably haven't heard this before. Yeah.
And it's, you know, you're way out of the box, and it's like, there is no box. It's so,
I keep saying that. Show me the box. Where's the box? I don't see it.
No. Yeah, the box is not designed for us. I can tell you that. So, well, I love you, Jeff.
I love you, brother.
I truly do.